This episode is brought to you by Physiovelo, because in Ultra, having the right cycling posture makes all the difference. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Ultra Talk podcast. Today I have a somewhat hybrid guest. He runs, he cycles, he volunteers at events, always in endurance sports. I'm here with Sacha. Hi, Sacha.
Hi, Arno.
I'm very happy.
Me too.
You have no idea what's waiting for you.
I'm scared. You told me everything usually goes smoothly.
It's your story, you're going to find out. In any case, I am truly very happy to be able to share this entire hour here with you. If I rewind the story and ask myself when I first met Sacha, I remember I'm leaving in 30 seconds, I've lost my lamp. Do you know where it is?
I remember if it was in Lille at the Between Village.
That's right.
At the Race Across in 2024. I think the first time I came to shake your hand was just a few hours before. I was telling you that I loved what you were doing there, and I was going crazy, caught between stress and pressure.
Because you were doing the 2,500 kilometers, let's be clear.
No big deal. First ultra race, by the way, just to mention it. Definitely, but yeah, that's it. It's like, the start was chaotic.
And actually that headlamp, you had it.
I
had it.
In my cycling shorts.
There you go.
Right in the butt fat. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. But honestly, I had stuffed it in my shorts precisely so I wouldn't forget it or lose it.
And the stress at the start.
Completely overwhelmed.
I remember you were panicking, totally.
I thought to myself, damn, I lost the only rear light that gives off any glow.
And that's how I met Sacha. And then Sacha, we also spent some time last summer on Race Across Québec. We spent nights waiting for the runners. We had some good times. We laughed a lot. And I thought it would be interesting to learn about your journey. Since how many years have you been living in Montreal?
It's going to be, I arrived here in 2012 on December 27th, 2012. In winter, of course, because otherwise it wouldn't have been funny. And then on top of that, 3 summers because I went to Australia along the way. So I told myself, thermal shock, you have to go for it. And I arrived on December 27th, 2012. I remember that date because here there had been the storm of the century. There was something like, I think, 20 or 30 centimeters that fell in less than 24 hours. So our Quebecois friends can all say it was chaos, total chaos. And my first purchase in Montreal the next day was a pair of snowshoes at the market on the street. That was the mood.
So you've been here for 14 winters, right?
Yeah, that's right. I've been here for 14 winters.
All right. So Sacha is French. He's been coming to Montreal for 13 years and 14 winters. And before we get into the episode and rewind the story like I usually do, I'm going to ask you the question. Can you introduce yourself in your own words, in your own way? If you had to introduce yourself to the listeners of the Ultra Talk podcast, what would you say to them?
I'm just a guy from the Côte d'Azur who in the end got into sports because my mother always wanted me to do a bit of sports and so on. I did martial arts. I started with martial arts. I think it gives you a certain discipline, a certain vibe. Then, well, after that, studies and so on. I traveled around a bit. I went, as I was saying, to Australia. I lived there for 6 months. It was...
Was it your studies that took you there, or was it just a work visa?
In part, a little bit. I went on a working holiday visa, but it was as part of my studies that I went there. Then afterwards, when I came back, I felt a bit homesick. I think there's a time when you're young, when you think, France isn't for me, I want to live somewhere else.
Not necessarily only when you're young.
Yes, that's true, but thank you. At the time, anyway, when I was 24, I was there homesick thinking, what am I doing in France? Honestly, this country sucks, like the usual cliches. And in the end, I came back from Australia and said, okay, I need to leave. I found the opportunity to come to Montreal to continue my studies. I came to Montreal. Then even once again in Montreal with the whole immigration process and so on. After a while, I got a bit fed up and left for 6 months in New Zealand because I was in love with Oceania. I love that region. I told myself I have to fully experience life in Oceania. And I went to New Zealand for 6 months while waiting for my Canadian permanent residency. Then one thing led to another. I got my residency. Then COVID happened and all that. I stayed in France for a bit in the middle of all that. That's when I started cycling. You didn't
cycle before COVID?
Actually, I started cycling in 2016. I rode bikes when I was a kid, like everyone, with the little training wheels. Then later, off they came, and it was mountain biking.
No competitions, no sports clubs?
Nothing. I would ride my bike, maybe just to go buy a baguette, and even that felt too hard. And yeah, that's it. I started cycling in 2016 after signing up. There was some friends who signed me up for a triathlon. That ties in a bit with the hybrid aspect. And after that, I got into cycling a bit late, especially road cycling, because I really only started then, 2017 to 2018.
Not that long ago?
No. But I tend to shake up the rules pretty quickly. I mean, I was always trying to push my limits, and I went from an Olympic distance triathlon, which for some people can be a huge challenge, to an Ironman. And then instead of just doing an Ironman, I told myself I'm going to do an extreme Ironman. We'll talk more about that later, but there you go. But if I had to go back to introducing myself, besides that, I work, because sports are all well and good, but not yet, at least not at my level. Maybe one day I'll consider becoming a champion. I think I've missed that window. We'll see about that. But anyway, for now, I work here in Montreal. I work at a university. I coordinate international programs for HEC Montreal. Basically, I make sure that students spend 2 years studying at their home universities. And then they come here with the opportunity to change their lives, maybe have a chance to stay here in Canada or even build a career.
So for you, that's it?
Changing your life, actually. I really work with countries in West Africa, in the Maghreb, countries like China, for example, so countries where students don't necessarily have the opportunity to study at Western universities. And coming here is a huge investment, whether financially or personally. But it's also a huge boost for them. Afterwards, it's up to them to decide what they want to do to change their lives. I don't consider that studying allows you to change your life, because I now have some perspective on that view. I still believe that it gives you the keys to open doors for yourself. Then after that, it's up to you to take those keys or to make your own path as you see fit. And I find that admirable. People who don't go to school and still build exceptional careers. And I know plenty of people like that. So in the end, we're giving them an opportunity. But for me, I feel like the job I do today has meaning. For me, it has meaning. That's what's important. And I consider that everything I do, I try to give it some meaning, whether it's in sports, in my life, day to day, or in my job. So that's it. I went a bit off track.
That also gave me quite a few questions and reference points for the rest of our discussion. We'll come back to what you're doing now, how you do it, and the impact it can have on you, on your outlook on life, and the meaning you want to give it. But if we go back a little, you were telling us that for you, sports weren't present in your youth. There wasn't even any soccer. There was no sport at all.
Actually, my mother was athletic in her youth, before her teenage years. I'm not from a family of serious athletes to begin with. I don't have any family role models in sports, either at a high level or even really as amateurs anymore.
There wasn't a competition every Saturday or every Sunday because mom or dad or my sister were doing...
My mother, actually, she would take me to judo competitions. That's where it stopped. And there really wasn't anything in terms of an endurance dynamic. Absolutely not. It was really just a sport for fun and enjoyment. But that actually matches my philosophy of sport today as well, for fun and enjoyment. Sometimes I hear people talking about, I'm in the middle of the pack or at the back of the pack. I think that's great. That's where you have the most experiences.
Because
in the end, the guy in front, he's having an incredible experience, but it's a personal one about performance. These days, I also enjoy sharing moments. We've shared a lot of moments together during the sweep. We'll come back to that, but that's really it, honestly. No, in sports, formally, never.
So what brought you to it? Because you also do trail running, ultra trail. That's how you started. With what? Cycling or running first?
Well, running was something I absolutely hated. But when I was signed up for a triathlon, there was a running event.
Did you lose a bet?
For the triathlon?
Yes. Why did you sign up for a triathlon? Usually it's a personal decision. Like, I want to do a triathlon. But you're telling us, no, someone signed me up for a triathlon.
Actually, at the time, I was living there and my neighbor and I got along really well. He was about my age. And I told him, honestly, triathlon is a crazy sport. I think it's awesome. You swim, you bike, you run. One day I want to do that. I don't know why, but that message didn't fall on deaf ears. And he got together with a couple of friends too. And I they signed me up for the Montreal Triathlon, something pretty accessible, let's say, which takes place at Jean Drapeau.
Still a triathlon?
Yes, but on the Jean Drapeau grounds, it's the Gilles Villeneuve circuit. For the cycling part, it's flat. It's not something that's supposed to kill you. normally. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's not something. He isn't sending me to Tremblant for a 73 half Ironman. There's a middle ground. But yeah, they signed me up and I found out about it on my birthday. So I was born on August 11th. And the registration, the race is on September 11th. It's crazy, this thing.
What a great gift.
I swim well being from the Côte d'Azur. I learned early since my mother put me in swimming lessons right away. And
did you run or not?
Not at all. I didn't even have running shoes. Meaning that on the 12th, I ordered a pair of shoes. I had no knowledge at all. I picked shoes that I thought were nice, just the basics, and I didn't run. And then I got my sneakers. And then my neighbor, he was a runner. He was training for the Montreal half marathon. He said to me, "Come on, let's go for a run and all." I said, "Okay." After 1.5 kilometers, I was leaning against a tree. I had a side stitch. I was out of breath, dying. And I thought to myself, there are 10 kilometers to run in the triathlon. Right before that, there are 40 kilometers of cycling. And before that, there's 1.5 kilometers of swimming. I'm going to die. And I was less than a month away from the race. At that point, there's no tapering, like the philosophy of tapering and all that. Forget about it. So that's it. They signed me up for it.
You didn't lose motivation or get discouraged. You told yourself, I'm registered, I'm going for it. You could have said, I'll try to postpone it to next year.
But that's a character trait. It's something that developed in me, I think, gradually while I was in Canada. Absolute determination. And I realized, maybe it's part of my character too, but I'm extremely determined in everything I do, in every aspect of my life. For immigrating to Canada, I was extremely determined as well. So that gives you an idea. But basically, when I did my triathlon, I started training twice a day, 6 days a week.
A week?
I really committed myself, but I almost lost 5 kilos in less than a month. And
weren't you too tired when you got there?
No, I arrived. I was in top shape. I was at my peak. Actually, I wouldn't say I breezed through it because you can't really say that.
So you didn't suffer from what you're saying?
I came out of the water 7th in my age group for the triathlon. After that, I did my 40 kilometers on the bike. It went well. I averaged 32 kilometers per hour, even though I didn't have a road bike. A friend lent me her brother's road bike.
Her brother's?
The bike was a size 52. You see my size? I'm a 58. I think it was a 52 or a 54. The thing is, I have the photo. It's unreal. I was like this on the bike. It was ridiculous. And then I didn't have clipless pedals, so they were regular...
Flat pedals?
No, but he didn't have flat pedals. He had real clipless pedals, but I didn't have clip-in shoes, so I hadn't invested at that point. I didn't even know. I liked it, so I was riding with my running shoes that I had bought 3 weeks earlier. So
you actually managed to complete the full 40 kilometers while using those automatic pedals then?
Auto pedals.
But all in sneakers?
But in running sneakers.
Amazing.
I had the fastest bike-to-run transition ever. I dropped the bike and I was ready to run. The transition, I think it lasted 20 seconds. It was incredible. The guy saw me get off the bike. He saw me running, all chill. The others, they were running in that mode. You know it, running in that eclipse mode. You have no pace. I flew through the transition. It was sharp. But after that, for sure, I just did my race. I finished it in 2 hours and 40 minutes.
And that's when you said to yourself, damn, this thing is awesome.
I love this sport. Didn't suffer too much. I won't say I didn't suffer, but I challenged myself. But
not like someone who a month before knew they were signed up. At that point, you might think this is going to be a hassle. Before we continue with the episode, a few words about our new partner, PhysioVelo. If you're an endurance cyclist, you know just how much your position on the bike directly affects your comfort, your power, and your ability to last through a ride. PhysioVelo is the go-to reference for bike fitting and managing cycling injuries. Since 2021, the PhysioVelo team has been training physical therapists and physiotherapists all over French-speaking Europe. You can find a certified PhysioVelo professional near you directly on the directory map on their website. And if you want to deepen your own knowledge and specialize in bike fitting, they also offer e-learning courses accessible from anywhere in the world. With the code RUS15, RAS15, you get 15% off their entire online course catalog, of course. The link is in the description of this episode. PhysioVelo, because in ultra-distance cycling, having the right posture makes all the difference.
I was already thinking, I was in it. This is going to be a hassle. The race. 2 weeks after that event, I signed up for the Montreal half marathon. I'm sorry for the organizers. I bought a bib, like a lot of people, from a guy who got injured, a certain Philippe who had beaten his own record. He was 49 years old. I ran the Montreal half marathon, even though I hadn't trained for it at all. And I did it in 1 hour and 39 minutes, also with just basic triathlon training. And I had only started running for less than a month, just 15 days before.
You start to think, this is amazing.
I love it. Why didn't I?
Have you ever done this before?
After that, I made all the mistakes a beginner makes.
That's
Experience. Because you're all in, you see results, and people encourage you even more. They say to you, do you realize that? 1 hour 39, you've never run in your life. That's crazy. And in the end, I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Then I sign up for new half marathons. I keep going. I want to beat my own
record. So back then, how long ago was that?
in 2016.
And
10
years ago, it's not like it was 25 years ago. It
wasn't even 10 years ago. And in the end, I sign up for half marathons, and then I tell myself I'm going to sign up for a marathon. I'm doing well, but actually, as I keep training, I really push my body and the training itself.
too. So that means you structure it.
I don't really structure it because I'm nothing like a coach. I'm learning a bit late in the game.
You're giving it your all.
I try to understand the basic principles a bit. I get a lot of inspiration from influencers, runners, and elite athletes. Except I don't have the same structure. I forget the fact that I have a full-time job. That's it. It's great to go to the gym 2 or 3 times, but on the side, you have a 40 or 45-hour job per week. You have your life and responsibilities. It may seem minor, but you have laundry, meals, and things to organize. Me, I structured nothing. And in the end, I got injured. I developed a pubalgia. That's
often what people say. When you want to run a lot,
the
injury, it's normal, let's say. Apparently, it's normal to get injured when you run.
Actually, it's not normal. We tell ourselves it'll go away, but it's not true that it just goes away. You have to listen to your body, but few of us actually want to listen because generally we have a goal, but I didn't start running injured. I got injured gradually as I kept training. Then I ran 2 half marathons almost a week apart in a race with a bib number. It's not the same vibe at all because when you go running just for fun, you can slow down. But in a race, you push yourself hard. And I did that in February too. I ran the Montreal hypothermic half, average temperature minus 22. We love crazy projects. And the following week, I ran another half marathon, same thing, in Angers-Gardien somewhere in the snow. And that's when I really got injured. And I felt like I had an abdominal tear. But actually, it was related to pubalgia. It's an inflammation in a small part of your body. And it caused a really serious inflammation for me. I was unable to run for 3 to 4 months. And that's when I turned to cycling.
Because it's a low impact sport, because
it was the only sport I was able to do. At that point, I wanted to sign up for triathlons just for fun because I love swimming. But at that point, I couldn't swim anymore. I even had trouble sleeping because the pain was so intense. And the only sport I was able to do was cycling. So I turned to cycling. I told myself, let's go, let's do some cycling.
With the goal of a cyclosportive, for example, or not at all. It was just, I get some exercise, I keep myself going, I stay in shape.
I keep myself fit, I stay in shape. Goal, triathlon. And in my mind, something was starting to appear. It was the first year of the Canadaman, the extreme triathlon that takes place in Mégantic here in Canada. Same type of race as the Norseman. And so at that point, I said to myself, okay, I think I want to do this. But at that moment, I was injured. So I know it doesn't make much sense there.
That thing?
That
light
that goes on. Then I tell myself, okay, I'm going to ride a bike, but I still don't have a road bike. I only have a regular all-purpose bike. So I tell myself, I'm going to ride, but this summer, I want to do something crazy. I'm going to bike from Montreal to Percé.
So for the people listening to us who don't know, how many kilometers is that? What's the distance? What is it exactly?
So Montreal to Percé is 1,100 kilometers. The elevation gain, I couldn't tell you exactly because I don't really know off the top of my head, but I think it's around 2,500, 3,000, 4,000. I don't know. Actually, in the Gaspésie area, that's where things start to get a bit crazy. We'll see about that, by the way, for the Race Across Québec 2,500, what people will say when they head out there. But yeah, there's a lot of elevation gain in that region too.
That's not all.
No, it's not. Montreal is flat, but over there, that's where the elevation starts. But up to Quebec, it's fine. But after that, after Quebec, that's where you start to get some little hills, ups and downs, which are pretty interesting. And I set off with my two panniers bike, touring style, except, well, I'm making the project a bit more crazy, meaning I set off, I give myself 12 days, 12 to 14 days. I allow myself a bit of leeway, but I set myself the goal of visiting all the parks. Along the way, the parks of Quebec, so CEPAC and national parks. And I want to do a hike in each of the parks. That's my little goal. So I start at Jacques-Cartier Park, which is in Quebec City. After that, I head up to Rimouski, so to Bic Park, then Gaspésie National Park, then Forillon Park. And I set myself some small goals I did some couch surfing. At the time, there was couch surfing, which was a super dynamic and free app. And it has changed format now. It's now paid, but I think it must still work, maybe. I imagine so, since it still exists. But back then, I was only doing couch surfing. And it's great because you meet the locals and they tell you their story a bit like we're doing today. That
must be amazing, that.
And in the end, the guy, what I used to do was always try to ask where the nearest supermarket was or the nearest grocery store to buy some beers. Then we'd make ourselves a simple meal, a plate of pasta. We didn't care about anything else, but we'd just chat.
That must be amazing.
I just want to say, and since then, thanks to that, I've made some really great friends. For example, in Pocahontas.
Did you stay in touch?
Yeah, and it's crazy because I saw them again in New Zealand. It had been almost 5 years since I'd last seen them, and then I saw them again. In New Zealand, we ended up at the bar where I was working by
chance?
Well, no. Actually, they told me, we saw that you're in New Zealand, man, we're in Auckland. And I said, thanks. Let's go. Come to the barge. I'm the one buying drinks this time, guys. And in the end, that's what happened. I met up with them again. We saw each other again in Quebec. Back then, when I saw them, they were a couple. Now they have 3 kids. And every year I get a card from them for the holidays. I love that.
That's really the best part of traveling by bike. It's even slow travel. I don't know what you'd call it, but you take your time, you cover the distance. The goal is meeting people, and that's exactly what you're talking about, and it's awesome. It's every night. Can you imagine? Every night you have an inspiring encounter.
Exactly. I meet a guy in Quebec. Well, after that, the journey.
What? If you have 1 or 2 stories like that, something totally unreal where you think, wait, what am I experiencing right now?
The trip itself is unreal because if you want...
But did you dream it or did you really?
No, I really experienced it, unfortunately. There are things that are kind of out of this world, like I really set off on an adventure and I had no knowledge at all about bikes, I mean. Mechanically, I just took my stuff. I watched videos on YouTube, how to change an inner tube, but it stopped there. My expertise, changing a flat, a chain, I wasn't even considering that for the project. Like checking the quality of my tires. No idea if they were good, not good, whatever. At the time, I had no clue and I just set off. I go to Drummondville because I have friends who live there. Then after that, we head back. And as soon as I leave Drummondville, I go 20 kilometers and I get 6 flats. I'm like, damn, what the hell is going on? I have nothing left, no more inner tubes, no more patches. So I call them. I'm like, I'm 20 kilometers from your place. I'm going to walk back. Well, whatever. It'll be like a half marathon, but it's just misery, I got a flat and everything. I'm going to come. And actually, I didn't realize that the spoke on the bike wheel had broken and it kept poking through and causing flats. I was trying to figure it out. I saw my inner tubes. They were all punctured from the inside. What the hell is this mess? I was looking everywhere for the nail. What the hell is this mess?
I didn't get any questions.
And then actually every time it kept poking through. And I only realized that when I got to Quebec. Because the thing is, in this whole story, I thought, well, the inner tubes were just crap. So I bought some inner tubes at a supermarket. But the guy who's terrible at mechanics. And in the end...
The guy was thinking, okay, wait, I get 6 flats. You need 25 inner tubes for the day.
But I definitely set off. I saw some people at Race Across Québec. They came with their toolbox. I was that guy, like at the very beginning, I was that guy who set off with 8 inner tubes. I had no clue. And so that's it. I had a flat. And in the end, by getting a flat, I actually took more time. I took an extra day in Drummondville. I had the opportunity to go boating with my friends' neighbors. I made friends. Again, another great encounter. Then after that, we kept going. We went to Quebec City. Actually, I went to Quebec City alone, by the way. Just me and my bike. And hypoglycemia, a classic. So I stop at a convenience store. And instead of grabbing something sweet like an idiot, I get myself a Gatorade and some chips, thinking that'll do the trick. In the end, I bought some Maxi muffins, those huge American-style ones loaded with sugar. I was like, guys, that's it. I deal with my little hypo and it passes. And I go see the guy in Quebec City, and once again, it's a great experience. Except I go to Jacques Cartier Park, I twist my foot while hiking, I sprain my ankle. But I have my schedule to stick to. I want to go to Percé. That's the plan. So the next day I leave with my sprained ankle. Obviously, I get tendonitis.
Because
you're pedaling with a sprained ankle. There you go. I stop. At a first spot, Saint-Jean-Port-Joli, a really beautiful village on the lower St. Lawrence. There I meet a lady who welcomes me, super nice. She says to me, "But you don't look well." I say, I have a little sprain. I'm not doing so great. And then she asks, but where are you going tomorrow? I was supposed to go to Trois Pistoles, which was 100 kilometers from there. She says to me, "But are you sure?" I say, "Yeah, I'm going to go." And then finally I stop. I had a plan B, which was in La Pocatière. That's where my couple friends live. I tell myself, okay, plan B, we're going to go to La Pocatière. I go to La Pocatière. I arrive, and the girl, she's a physiotherapist. What are the odds?
sometimes the planets just align.
The alignment is perfect. And then she says to me, "I'm going to put a bandage on you." She puts a
Strap on you, and you don't hurt anymore.
I finished my adventure. I met lots of amazing people. I met people.
Everything that you are describing is truly wonderful.
I originally planned to cross the Gaspé Peninsula through the center because that's what Google Maps suggested. Same here. Back then, when it came to route planning, it wasn't anything special. Komoot and the like, I wasn't really skilled at using them. For me, I was going through the center. They said it was fine. I stopped in Rimouski. I was staying with some naturalists, people who work in the CPAC parks. Not naturists. That's something else. The naturalist told me it was nonsense to go through the middle. You have to
control it.
You'll see. If you want to see wildlife, it's perfect. You'll see bears, lynxes, moose, anything you want. But it's not certain you'll come out of it well because there aren't many villages. There's only Mordocville in the middle, and then it's just logging truck roads and all that. Nothing is paved there. It's nonsense.
So it's just dirt roads.
Yeah, it's nothing but dirt roads. And, considering my expertise with flat tires, it wasn't the best experience. Going off into something where there's only one town in the middle of 205 kilometers and nothing else. So that's it. But I finished my experience in Percé. Then after that, I took the bus in Percé. But even then, I can't pick just two
experiences. It's the experience itself that's just extraordinary.
Actually, it's the somewhat naive side of biking, of being a cyclist, of bike touring for the first time.
That changed everything.
Exactly. Then when I got back, I told myself, okay, I think I'm good with biking now. I'm signing up for the Ironman. 180 kilometers doesn't scare me anymore. And there was
the Canadaman, you mentioned that too.
Yeah, that's the Ironman.
Okay, got it. The extreme Ironman.
Because that's everything the Ironman is.
Give us the distances.
3.8 kilometers of swimming.
Yeah, you have time to drown several times over.
Yeah, that's right.
But hey, you managed pretty well.
Yeah, it's fine. That's good. Then 180 kilometers of cycling, not swimming, not that much, cycling in a region that's really very, very mountainous, very hilly around Mégantic. So that's the Eastern Townships. It's really quite steep. Here in Quebec, we really have some tough climbs. They're not huge ascents, but
damn.
Sometimes the climbs are 19 to 20%. That really
opens you up. I often compare it to the bergs in Belgium. They're even a bit longer than the bergs in Belgium.
Definitely less cobblestone though.
Yes, but the gradient is significant.
Yes, the gradient. Actually, you don't even realize it because you arrive in this slope. You see it in the distance and you think, okay, that's doable. But actually, you climb really quickly. You go from 3% to 16% and it really hits you. And then it's just climbs and descents. You never really have time to rest. So that's how it is. And after 42 kilometers of running, of which 75%
trails,
because we like to make things a bit funky. So that's it. And I did all of my training entirely indoors since the race was on July 7th, 2018.
Okay. And why all indoors?
Because it was winter. So cycling at the time, we didn't have today's Zwift platform. Home trainers in 2018. It wasn't the same thing at all. It was a thing where you attached your tire and hoped it would hold. You'd end up with rubber residue all over the apartment. It was a mess. And then for running, I did a lot of treadmill workouts. I really wasn't into running outside yet, in the snow, the ice, all that stuff. Legs, not that well equipped. And I was a bit sensitive to the cold, let's be honest. It really gets to me. I'm really not a fan. I like winter.
When does this event take place?
It's on July 7th.
But you come out of winter late here.
Yes, we come out of winter at the end of April. We can still occasionally get heavy snowstorms in the month of May sometimes. But this particular event was back in April. You start to get a bit running outside, really long distances, starting to cycle outdoors. No, that's it. Then I buy my first bike.
A real bike.
A real bike at that time. I had never really ridden a real bike before.
So back in 2018, what was your main goal? Was it to participate in this event, which is extreme, and
to finish it?
To finish it, but then to get back into triathlon afterwards. Was there a plan behind it? Yes.
There was a plan? No, there was a plan. I really wanted to do this race. Then afterwards, I told myself, I'm going to do a full triathlon season. It was really more about distances that were a bit more manageable.
And is that what happened or not?
Not at all. COVID happened.
Ah, right. So first you finish.
Yes, I finished this race. It was just before I left for New Zealand because I had decided to spend 6 months in New Zealand. That was my plan too. And I was up against the age limit for the working holiday visa. So I set myself the goal of going to New Zealand at that time, at the end of 2018, and coming back to Canada sometime in 2019, and to do my full triathlon season in the Quebec Cup, triathlon and all that. So those are the distances. Sprint, Olympic, at most half Ironman. So, I tell myself that
it could work.
Yes, it works because the training is less time consuming than for a full Ironman. You don't realize it. You have your
landmarks.
You have your reference points. And well, I still took quite a beating in that race. So there you go. But the goal was to do that. And then the goal changes gradually because your life evolves. And then I heard it on a podcast, but I wonder if it wasn't on yours. I think it was on yours. In 2020, everything stopped. Nothing was happening anymore. There was no more competition. There was nothing left.
Here in France, we were under a strict lockdown.
I was in France.
3 months later, we were able to go out a little bit.
There was the kilomètre majeur.
Everyone was running in parking lots or wherever they could. Then after that, we went back into lockdown. In October, November, December, but it was a lockdown, it was a curfew.
At evening.
At 8 p.m. So yes, it was stricter, but in any case, all the events were cancelled. Well, a lot of events were cancelled.
A huge number of events, that's right. And actually, everyone started doing endurance sports at that time. And there were quite a few people running in the woods because it was a way to escape, since you couldn't really travel anymore.
For us, we went from 170 registered participants to 850 after COVID.
After that, it just exploded. People, they need to
get out into the open.
Nature. And then actually, they developed a passion for the outdoors.
So what you should also know is that a lot of people came out of COVID in better shape than the physical condition they were in when they went in, because people got themselves equipped. You mentioned indoor home trainers. So people got equipped. There were even stock shortages.
Exactly.
We were training every day for 3 months. We
didn't have jobs.
We were training every day. We did sports every day for 3 months. We discovered, here I'm talking about cycling, we discovered watts with Zwift. That is, you make an effort, it produces watts, your level, your FTP. So a lot of people came out of it in really great shape. And
more structured as well.
And who took advantage of that to enjoy themselves and increase their distance. And more structured.
Yes, and structured in their training. And people are less injured, right? They became much more ready for the long term, actually. And that's it. I really started cycling more regularly at that time to go for long distances, like 100, 200 kilometers.
Etc. And trail running.
Trail running came a bit later. The fun in Montreal, actually. But I think the best person to talk about it would be Mathieu Blanchard. He often says when you arrive in Montreal...
Mathieu, I never dared to invite you. That's right, I never dared to invite you. Because Mathieu is so in demand that I thought, why would he come on Ultra Talk? You know what I mean? I'm not even going to invite him. People will say, but Arnaud, you're the one who says you should always take your chance and all that. Yes, that's true. I never sent it. So I had Alex.
Yes.
Alex Nobla on the podcast, with whom we did a great episode. And I didn't even take advantage of having Alex Mathieu. If not, no, there's no point. You see what I mean? Of course, I follow this athlete, but I never dared to invite him on the podcast. Because I tell myself, but
he does so much.
He does so much. From what angle am I going to approach him? You see, so that the listeners can hear something a bit new.
Exactly.
So there you go. But in any case, if he ever wants to come,
the invitation is open.
Honestly, you see.
But if you want, that's it. The best person, I think, to talk about trail running in Canada is Mathieu. He's a very good ambassador. Why
I know that he lived.
here? He lived here, and actually, he often talks about the community. And here, the Canadian community in sports in general, because it's not just trail running, cycling too. I think you saw it with the Tuesday cyclists. And the community is incredible, and I find that we don't have that in France. It's starting to take shape because there are guys who came to Canada and then went back to France with the same concepts.
Funny, hold on.
Sorry.
But what you're saying, you were talking about the Tuesday rides in China. This morning I went to spend an hour at Cycle Rages, who have set up Zwift bikes. And so he's the winner of the Tuesday rides in China from 2 years ago. I forgot his first name, but Antoine.
Maybe, but
Who's over there and took care of me. And I had already seen him 2 years ago, who had kept up with the Tuesday rides, who had won the Tuesday rides in China and the Tuesday rides in China. But honestly, I was blown away. I wanted to go check it out. That is to say, I had come 2 years ago in 2024. I was on vacation and I told my partner and my kids, tonight I won't be here. There's a bike race. I want to go see it. I want to go see what it's like, you know. And I had the same thought as what you just said. We, in France, we don't know how to do that. People will say to me, wait, it's just a bike race. No. Actually, it's the whole
atmosphere around it.
It's a spectacle. It's a show. I mean, it's a closed circuit of 1 kilometer. 5, I think. But you still have the police motorcyclists in front opening the road. There are a crazy number of spectators.
They're riding at 40.
It's spectacular. There's an incredible announcer. There was also the person who does the atmosphere during the Canadians' games. But I had an incredible time, and I had the same thought as you, saying this in France, we just don't know how to do it. So only those who have come and seen it can understand. But this kind of cycling experience, we don't know how to do it in France.
No, the communities, I think it's starting to happen. It was already starting to take shape in Paris.
For you, it's the communities that make this possible?
Actually, the community enables inclusion. And inclusion, in the end, it breaks down barriers. Today, you are telling me, during COVID, people showed up in good shape. Yes, they showed up in good shape, but did they become more supportive of each other? I have no idea. I haven't really thought about it that way. But here, I'm involved in a club here called Running Montreal. And in the morning, for example, this morning, I did a 6-kilometer run near my place. These are people you hang out with like that. You go running for fun, you chat. It energizes your day. It makes your day. You use it for friendship. You make friends precisely through these things. You meet really wonderful people.
Is that crucial for you in Montreal?
Yeah.
Is it a Quebec thing?
I don't know if it's a Quebec thing, but in any case.
But here, compared to all the cities you've been to, it's not like it is here. Here.
So far, I haven't seen this kind of philosophy anywhere else. Of course, in Paris, I have seen that it's starting to develop. Now you have people like Dorian Louvet who came with his running academy. They're creating community runs. There are more and more community runs being set up. It's starting to become really popular.
Isn't there a business motive behind it?
No idea. In any case, for us, in our situation, there's absolutely no
business philosophy. What's being set up in Paris? Isn't there a business motive behind it if there's a brand involved?
After that, I don't really know. I can't. I think we all, in the end, have a model, a business model too, to promote our app, our thing. I'm thinking of Nico, for example, from Running Addict, who launched his campus coach. He was in Montreal. He saw what was being done in Montreal. He's trying to replicate a bit of what's being done. Then he's also adapting it with his own business model. And it's not negative at all. It's great.
It's
a really great entrepreneurial project. And I think that's really cool. And when Mathieu says here, the community actually attracts you, it pulls you in, it pushes you. And when you run, I run trail. And that's how I started trail running. I started trail running with running, Montreal, with activities like that. When you start trail running, you meet people, it makes you want to come. You come every week, and then after that, a routine sets in. And actually, it motivates you. And then you set yourself challenges because you say to yourself, okay, I can run 15 kilometers. I'm going to do my first trail run and so on. And as you go, you progress and do your little training sessions or your big ones. And trail running came a bit late because running itself came to me pretty late in life. And today it's true that I have a special passion for trail running. Running on the road motivates me much less. Running on the road is more for socializing. That's it. Actually, the thing is, Mount Royal in Montreal today is incredible for beginners in trail running. There's nothing complicated, nothing difficult, nothing really technical about it. We talk a lot about trail running in terms of technical aspects and everything, just like with cycling, for example. We talk about gravel, which can be challenging or not too challenging, etc., depending on the terrain. Trail running in Montreal is easy. Go run trails in Charlevoix, Saguenay, and so on. In Lanaudière towards Tremblant.
See?
Roots and rocks everywhere. It's a thing. You twist your ankle. It's happened to me. And in the end, it's completely different. Of course, it's easier to get started in a place or environment where it's safe and where, plus, people are there to help you. And run in Montreal, the group, I usually lead it in the summer, generally on Thursday evenings. I'll be leading a group. We have group leaders. I lead a group. We're 40 to 60 people, and we're there to run for fun. So we set a goal of 9, 10K, 300 meters up, and we trail run together in the woods. And it's a blah, blah run. Behind me, they never stop chatting. I know their whole life story. But in the end, I find it fun.
That's cool. And at what point did long distance cycling come in? Did it come after trail running?
Before.
Before trail running?
Yes. It came before, it came after. And
but how is that possible and why?
Actually, it comes... Why?
So there was that adventure you told us about, but at what point? How do you end up on a 2,500, for example? What's the path?
Back to Montreal after COVID. I went back to Montreal after COVID. So...
The year 2021.
2020... End of 2020, 2021, let's say. More like, let's take spring 2021. At that point, I told myself, okay, I need to set some goals for myself. Triathlon was kind of over for me. The triathlon trend had kind of passed here too. And then, I couldn't really find anything that excited me anymore. But cycling, I loved it. And then I thought, I want to set myself a little challenge. I'm going to do the Montreal Québec ride, the classic one. The classic 275, 300 kilometers or so. And then I thought, I want to test myself. That's fun. At that time, I was listening to a lot of, I was following Steven. I think you know him very well. Steven Lejarik. And I saw what he was doing. I thought it was crazy. The landscapes, the stuff, the challenges. And then I thought that looks incredible. I need to do some crazy things like that too. So I set out on the 300-kilometer ride. Montreal, Quebec, my first experience. All right, I'm going for it, but I have to come back too. So I set myself a goal of 3 days on Friday.
Did you plan to do the round trip or just
the round trip?
Return?
But not all at once. I planned the rest day.
600 kilo.
And I told myself, worst case scenario. Anyway, I'll find a bus. I managed to get back from Percé by bus. Coming back from Quebec should be doable. So I set off. I have a friend there who always hosts me, always staying with people, sharing moments together. And it allows you to relax, to forget the pressure a bit and to change the subject. Because I find that these are people who don't do this sport. They don't understand me either. And
then every evening you have a different story, a different passion.
They wonder, like right now we're chatting, but what are you doing, man? Why are you taking a car? What for? If you want to visit Quebec, why are you coming by bike? So first experience, that's it. Montreal to Quebec City, I do it in 3 days. And then I come across on social media Henri Dao in Quebec. And then I see that he did it at that time. Toronto, Montreal, or Montreal, Toronto by bike.
Montreal to Toronto, he explained it to us.
That's crazy. It's insane. It looks
like
a totally wild project. And then I tell myself, okay, I'm going to train. I'm going to take on a project like that. And at that moment, I see the Race Across France. Because at the time, a girl I was with said to me, damn, that could be something you'd like. And we saw 300 kilometers. Back then, it started from Nice, from Mandelieu to be exact. And it went all the way to Ventoux. Then after that, you went back up and actually stopped at Ventoux for the 300 kilometers. Because I think the start was all from the same place and then you stopped as you went along.
Before, every single one of the starts were in Mandelieu or on that very same day.
And
afterwards, people stopped at the distance they had chosen. The 300 kilometers stopped at the summit of Mont Ventoux. The 500 kilometers stopped at Saint-Jean-Orient. The 1,000 kilometers stopped at Mougève. And the 2,500 kilometers went all the way up to Le Touquet. That's how it was before.
Exactly. And when I saw that, I thought, yeah, that looks cool. But my slightly twisted mind was telling me 300 or 2,500 is still way better. So the idea stuck in my head, that thought that keeps nagging at you, but you tell yourself, okay, I'm not at that level. Will I ever be at that level? I don't know, but I'm going to test myself. And then I tell myself, okay, I'm going to do a project. At the time, I had a couple of friends I knew from France who were living in Toronto. They had a really great place and they told me, come spend a week in Toronto, it's cool. And they were in Montreal. So I asked them, they have a 4x4. I ask, is there room for a bike? They say, yeah, but for coming back. I say, well, I want to come back by bike. Then he says to me, but you're coming to stay at our place for a week? And I say, yeah, I'll do it in maybe 1 or 2 days. I don't know. They say, okay, they don't care. Handle your crazy ideas yourself. And then, we load up the bike, we load up Sacha, and I head out. It's really funny. We have these conversations because my butt hurts so much in the car. They say to me, next time, I'll put a bike seat in for you. And in the end, in Toronto, I stay the whole week. We have fun. I meet some friends there and everything. We drink beers. Then the moment comes. The weather is perfect. I pick the day.
The direction of the wind?
The direction of the wind, it's Toronto to Montreal. The wind is usually at your back, so it's pretty chill. And I tell myself, I'll pick the day when the weather is nice, when it's pleasant, when it's mild. I leave, it's 3 a.m. I wake up at 3:30. I have my breakfast and I head out. It's 4:30 in the morning, Toronto, and I go straight Toronto to Montreal, one shot. That's how I do it. 25 and a half hours, including breaks. I arrive the next day.
It is still the quiet night on the bicycle, so
it was
hard that time.
First time I did such a long distance like that.
The night too is definitely something special.
I was still well equipped.
You were good, the lighting and all that.
I had the lighting. I didn't just have a cheap lamp either. I had a real light lamp. It's
very important for the experience.
Exactly. Because at night, with those little lamps, I had done it in the city. You
strain your eyes, it's a disaster.
You even start to fall asleep. I find it soporific. For me, at night, it sometimes lasts a while. Around 1:30, 2 in the morning, until 3 a.m., it really hits me. It digs deep inside you. At that time, I didn't even know the route. I had mapped it out. I had a GPS. I was actually much better equipped by then.
You had a track on a...
I had a GPX track, but I made it myself. Then I talked to Henry. I asked, what's your route? He tells me it's available on Strava. So I say, okay, let's check Strava. Then I mapped out my route on Garmin Connect. I don't know if we're allowed to mention brand names. Worst case, we'll mention Wahoo and I don't know what else. And so that's it. I map out my thing.
Exactly.
That's it, all that stuff. And I map out my route on Garmin Connect. Then there you go. I tell myself it's all good. Except, well, I still do some scouting before leaving Toronto just to at least know the starting point so I can get on the right road. Then I see that in Toronto, there's the first road I take. I haven't even left the road out of Toronto yet, and already there are roadworks. The road is blocked. There's a stressful detour and everything. So luckily, I had checked it out beforehand. So I had spotted the detour. The detour goes through a big road because we're in Canada, right? Sometimes it's 2x3 or 2x4 lanes. So you're driving at 4:30 in the morning. Not much traffic, so it's fine. And I go through there. And so I continue on my route, Toronto. But I hadn't checked out the spots to refill water. So I'm heading out on an adventure and...
Was it complicated or not? So in the end, did it go well, even without scouting ahead?
Honestly, it went well. I found it was less difficult than the RAF when it came to food and water, because actually there are gas stations everywhere in Canada that are open.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So you stop, you get some water, you get some food, everything is available. And that's exactly what happened to me in the middle of the night. I stopped at a place, not very far from Montreal actually. I stopped twice at convenience stores, what they call dépanneurs, which are gas stations. The second convenience store isn't very far from Montreal. It's about 100 to 120 kilometers from Montreal, not even that. And then the guy says to me, where you come from? And I say to him, Montreal. And he says to me, no, but today, Toronto. That's what he says. No, but this morning. I say to him, yeah, I left Toronto this morning. And then he says to me, what the fuck, man? That's what he says. Is fuel so expensive for you? It was wild. The guy, he was unbelievable. He was saying to me, but why are you riding when you could take a car to come from Toronto? Gas is cheaper. I told him, yeah, but the experience just isn't the same. And then, well, he actually saw me spending half an hour choosing chips because I was completely out of it. I was just standing there staring at the bags of chips. I was thinking, which one can I start eating and keep on my bike? I was just there. The guy, he had fallen asleep at the register while I was still choosing my chips. It just wasn't working. He was outside, 3:30 in the morning. And in the end, that's it. I was in a gas station. By the way, I documented this kind of thing on Insta, but it was fun. In the end, that's it. I had an incredible experience. And that's when you really live the experience. Then after that, I did it. And at that moment, I told myself, okay, whatever. Yes.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. That's when you said to yourself, well, I've done it. In any case, I think it's possible.
I think I'm capable deep down. And then I tell myself, okay, I'm going to have to prove it, because for the RAF registration, you have to do a 1,000 kilometer project. I'm
going to crack a joke and say it's when we saw you arrive that we said, well, now we have to put things in place. We need entry requirements.
We need to set up barriers.
I'm joking.
There's this guy in Canada, he did something weird. Now he wants to do the RAF, but he hasn't done any elevation, plus I was convinced that Toronto-Montreal was packed. When I mapped out the route, it said 800 meters of elevation gain. I thought, that's easy. But after just 100 kilometers, I had already done 800 meters. And then I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's a scam.
Either it's completely flat or it's a scam. I ended up with 2,200 meters of elevation gain. Well, over 600 kilometers. It's flat, but I was just there.
Not 800.
Pretty good scam though, I set out thinking, yeah, it's all flat. Nope, not at all.
After 100 Ks, I thought I'd done them all. It's all flat, man.
But that's it. I experienced places. I went through places that were just beautiful. At one point, I crossed an island. I took a ferry. I rode through a gravel area between lakes, and the whole route was incredible. Honestly, if there are any Ultra Talk subscribers who want the route, I'll give it to them. It's amazing. Don't hesitate
to do so in the comments or directly on Sacha's social media.
Exactly. Honestly, it's the most beautiful route I've ever done. Toronto, Montreal, 2 days because it's better to see it during the day, but it was incredible. And so after that, it stuck with me. Now I see the registration for the RAF, 2,500.
This time it's in the other direction.
Yeah.
Le Touquet-Mandelieu.
At the time, it was Le Touquet-Mandelieu.
No, sorry. But then when I
signed up, it was the city of Lille.
We did it in Lille because indeed at that time it was Vendresol who was the partner. And actually I told them, look, it would make sense. You have a great spot to start from, which had been the base camp the year before. The year before we did Le Touquet and Lille to then go to the Vosges, and we were welcomed wonderfully. On top of that, their Vendresol offices are just above the cafeteria.
Great spot.
And then it's huge, the structure, the between village, it's massive. So we said, we'll do the start at your place. They agreed, and it was a great start. It's true, it was a great start.
It was an awesome start. The people were incredible. On site, it was super welcoming. It was easy for the participants to be able to lie down, to rest. No, it was great. But back then, when I watched it, it was the start from Le Touquet with the spot at the finish. It was the year when Jesse, who is the co-director of the Race Across Québec, did it. And I didn't know him, let's be honest. Then I saw his route, and that's it. And then I thought, okay, I want to do this race, but I need to validate it with a ticket for a 2,000 kilometer solo project. And then I told myself, well, I need to set up something that makes sense because there's elevation gain along with the kilometers and everything. And then I said, okay, let's go. Here we go. I'm going to make a route. So I made a route. I went from Montreal to La Pocatière, which is where my friends live, whom I had met a few years earlier. I said, it's a good opportunity to go see them and the kids because I hadn't seen them since they became parents. So it was a chance to visit them. Well, the less great part of the plan was sleeping because obviously when you haven't seen each other in 4 years and you show up at their place, they want to keep the beers coming. And you're there thinking, I just dragged myself 420 kilometers and I still have 580 to go tomorrow. I'm not sure this is going to work out, but that's how it is. And you don't get much sleep. So I do this thing. I go to La Pocatière. And then I set myself the goal of reaching Rivière-du-Loup. Rivière-du-Loup is a town a bit further up in the basin, Laurent. Take the ferry, cross on the ferry, and go down through Charlevoix, the side.
East side.
Really hilly, the east side, just below the Saguenay Fjord. And it's really fun, honestly. And I did that route. I had set a goal of 1,000 kilometers. In the end, I stopped at 840, which I did in 2 days, which was still pretty intense, let's be honest. And then actually nutrition problems. Basic, the usual stuff. Malnutrition and dehydration, mostly dehydration, and it really gets into my head. Then the next day, I just can't eat anything at all. And I know that actually I just need to rest. I just need to sleep one more night.
And
I can do the 120 kilometers I have left. Well, actually the 160 kilometers I have left. In the end, my girlfriend at the time says to me, yeah, but are you working tomorrow? I say, yeah. She says, I'll drive you back. So whatever, screw the 160, you're here. At that time, I sent an email to the RAF organization. You remember?
We discussed it.
And I said, is it still okay for me to register? Then I started all my little stupid projects. So the Toronto-Montreal, the Montreal-Quebec round trip, that kind of thing. And finally they told me, okay, let's go, you can come. And there I was, woohoo, here we go. Worst case, I was just faking it. And
How did you experience the adventure?
the
2,500.
So the start was pretty chaotic, partly because of that fire, it's parked. Then after 240 kilometers, we had to drink some water. It was disgusting. But that's just the unpredictability of live events. A race isn't your personal project.
Already the storm had really shifted at the start. We could see it. We saw lightning in the distance and we were already happy just to have started.
Start with the wind at our backs. By the way, I remember the briefing.
It ended on a high note.
I remember the briefing, the announcer,
Fergus.
he goes, and we've never had such beautiful conditions to start. Wind at our backs, dry weather. Take advantage of it, rack up the kilometers. The next day, I arrive at the first aid station and it's the first rain. And from that aid station, I think it was Clermont-Ferrand, we got drenched. And I think we had about 300 kilometers of rain. At one point, I think I had done a little over 300 kilometers. I stopped in a village. The village was called Jouy. It was magical because when I called the operation center, I said, Vonteu, I'm in Jouy, but actually that's not it at all. Jouy Sif, I was soaked to the bone. I had nothing except for a down jacket that I didn't want to open because I told myself, it's fine, I'm not cold right now. And actually, it was the only dry thing I had left. In the end, there were some rays of sunshine and that gave me a boost. Then after that, you just push through, right?
That was the year when the life base was in Meaux. First life base in Meaux.
It was Eric Le Blachet. Another village name, it's a small village nearby.
It was Vermont in the Meaux region. After that, there was
Guignon,
beautiful city.
wonderful town.
With a microclimate, by the way, which didn't work that day.
No, apparently it was cloudy. I arrived, I was soaked, man. I dried myself off. I stayed. I set off again in the rain. I was like, damn, what the hell is this? I'm leaving even more soaked. I was there, so that's it. Afterwards, you live your own experience, but it went well.
How many days did it take you in total?
I checked the other day. I think it took me 9 days and 7 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours. I don't remember exactly.
And on this kind of challenge, depending on who you meet in the evenings, did you have similar encounters?
We had some incredible encounters. We were at the back of the pack because there were 204 participants, I think, at the start, including the duos. And I think I finished somewhere in the top 100, around 100, between 100 and 110. But behind us, there were a lot of people who had dropped out. I think the last ones were Elsa, the Gâché, with Noélie, who are really at the very end of the pack.
Yes, that is right. They arrived. I think it was about 40 minutes or an hour and a half prior to the official cutoff time.
That's right. They were in full-on comeback mode against the clock. They
arrived after 9 days. 9 days, 23 hours and 20 minutes.
They picked up the stragglers along the way. As we say, they picked up the stragglers.
There were 2 people behind them.
And in the end, I saw people dropping out behind. And we were there holding on. We had a small group of people. We kept running into each other.
Met.
Forgetting. And towards the end, in the last 2 days, we were with several people. There was Axel Villard, who is a well-known regular at the annual race.
Who's there?
Yeah. He's adorable. He
even provides rice pudding for the aid stations.
For me, he mostly provided lots of laughs.
He's great. He's really great.
He's incredible. He told me that he'd hit the 500 and start at the same time for motivation. I let him go ahead. I thought I'd just try to make it to the finish on time, and that would be good enough. And we had created a WhatsApp group with the last participants. We created it during
the race.
Excellent. And a WhatsApp group there were 7 or 8 of us. And we created, by the way, with Charles.
King Charles III, or the current
bike courier, the guy who does Pierre Charles, he was picking up his girlfriend, driving fewer kilometers, and then we met up with him.
Finished 5 times, by the way.
We would find him in the valley just before the Vaudon Gorge, struggling with his girlfriend. Then we passed by there with 3 people, and that's when we picked him up. We said, come with us, who cares? And in the end, we created our WhatsApp group, which was the survivors of the RAF. We named him, he was Funky, and we all stopped together. The last night, we stopped at a spot. It was kind of a campsite, but not really a campsite. We all ordered, I think it was French tacos, loaded with meat, with all sorts of stuff. The guy, he
delivered us a cinder block.
And by the way, that's when I met your son.
Yeah, especially since on the ground, I wouldn't have the experience.
He had an experience that wasn't exactly amazing, poor guy. And I saw him there. He was waiting on the side of the road.
You know what? I'm going to send him a photo right now.
He was waiting for your partner to come pick him up. And then I said to him, come with us, come eat. You really didn't have an amazing experience, did you? Come eat with us. And in the end, he came to eat. And we laughed so hard that night. It went really well. And then we arrived. It was tough. The experience was wild. It was hard. It was deep. I think there were 2 times when I wanted to give up. The first time was in the pouring rain. And the second time was because I had something like tendonitis in my Achilles tendon from doing so much elevation, the weight, everything.
And then the repetitive pedal stroke means that if your cleat is badly positioned, you will often tend to try to generate extra power by using your heel.
And then at the
end of the day,
this specific tendon
heats up.
The lack of rest, all of it combined, makes you break down after a while. And I think there were 2 times when I broke down. The second time, it was Alex, Matt's girlfriend. We called each other. She told me, yeah, you can't give up. You're almost there. I had 800 kilometers left. You're almost there. Malvesi, I'm taking a
time for just the 2 of us. When you're really not feeling well, even 100 kilometers, you start thinking, wait, it's going to take this much time and all that. It's complicated. I can't do it anymore. But here, 800 kilometers, that's the width of France.
Yeah, but my mom actually, every time, my reference point was that I would take my phone and map out the route from my place or wherever I was to my mom's place on the Côte d'Azur. Because she lives on the Côte d'Azur, which is convenient. The finish is at Mont-de-Lieu. She lives in Juan-les-Pins. It's easy. It's right next door. And I would map it out and think, there's no way she's coming to pick me up. It's
like, I told myself, so I can't quit because my mom won't come. She won't
come pick me up. And the first time I gave up and called her, we weren't far from Montargis. And she said, go all the way to Montargis and worst case, you can take the train. I was like, fuck it. If I have to go to Montargis, that's 120 kilometers. I kept going. And that's how it happened.
I love it. It reminds me of an anecdote from Andrea Jouin, who's a mental coach and whom I once had on my show. It was on the podcast, Tous en scène, I think. I had her on Ultra Talk and she shared her adventure with me. She did the RAF. It was the 500 kilometers. She arrived right at the finish line and she told me, I failed magnificently. I tried to quit, but I couldn't manage to give up. She wanted to quit the whole time, but there were people telling her, no, come on, come with us, keep pedaling and everything. She kept saying, oh, no, I'm going to quit. But in the end, she arrived saying, I failed at quitting. She finished. She was a finisher. And that makes me think of what you're saying now. No, my mother won't come back, so I have to keep going.
Yeah, that's it. But actually, literally, I think at one point my mother was desperate. The second time she heard me, honestly, I was in tears. You have all these emotions that
flood back.
You're in tears. The ultra cyclist
cries on the bike.
I only cried that one time, and then I told myself, you're crying right now. In front of a field with cows, they're looking at you like, what the fuck? You're 800 kilometers from home. And then Alex calls me and she goes, SH, get your ass moving now. Come on. Yeah, you push yourself. You go for it. You've done all this. I had crossed the Pyrenees. I had gotten through the hardest part, actually. I had crossed the Tourmalet and all that was left was the Ventoux.
The Ventoux, yeah.
Well, Ventoux and the Gorges du Verdon, because those who know realize it's nothing alike.
You were neutralized in the Gorges du Verdon because that was the year when there was a lot of wind.
So I climbed the Ventoux with 120 kilometers per hour winds. I can say that the experience, it was the first time I thought I could let go of the bike and I'd end up in Tunisia. Honestly, it was like kite surfing. The whole thing was a mess. I was really in survival mode. What the fuck? I got the notice to change my route, but I was already 3 or 4 kilometers from the top at Malocène. I told myself, I'm going to keep going. At the top of Malocène, it was like the apocalypse trying to descend to Sceaux. Honestly, on the way down, I really wasn't feeling safe.
Up to Chalet Renard. After
Chalet
Renard, excuse me.
It's actually okay. Sceaux, the descent is still more relaxed. Bédouin, that would have been a different story, but that's how it is. The
first 6 kilometers of the descent were very, very dangerous.
Yeah, because there was a crosswind, it was really steep, and the brakes, the pads, that wasn't a great idea either. So it's just one thing after another. And then with the trailer, I tend to call the trailer the saddlebag on your bike's rear end. It weighs 18 to 19 kilos right away. The thing is, it didn't take off.
Hearing your journey little stops you. When you've made up your mind about something.
No, I go all in actually. I'm capable of pushing myself to the limit, but
when there's a goal at the end.
When you know why, I go for it.
There has to be something that motivates you.
I find my why before the race. For example, I did a trail run. Since we're talking about trail running, I'll draw a parallel here. This year, I did the Arikana 42, well, actually 44, because in trail running, they never get the distances right. It's a bit like ultra cycling, by the way. When it says 2,500, it's actually 2,600. I know the story.
It's me. Arno, the message has been received. The message has been received. So let me explain. Indeed, a 2,500 can sometimes turn into 2,632. It's possible sometimes. So far, it's never been less. But we try to stick to a certain percentage above that. And then, as I often explain, sometimes you have prefectures that get back to us at the last minute. And for the route, yes, we're forced to add extra kilometers because there are roadworks in the city. Anyway, in any case.
And then you add bonuses on top when you do the road?
What I mean by that is that in the coming years, there might be a 300-kilometer route that's actually 260, but with a very challenging elevation gain, and another that's 360 with less demanding elevation. That's the rule we've set for the future. To say 300, 500, 1,000 for me, I call that marketing. That is, we announce a distance, a color code. The 2,005 is yellow, the 1,000 is orange, the 300 is blue. We have color codes, so that way you immediately recognize a distance. And in the future, there might be some 300s that are actually 240, just like in trail running, where you have 50Ks that aren't really 50K.
There's the 100K that starts at Tremblant, the UTMB, but it's actually 80 kilometers.
Yet it has slightly higher levels.
More challenging levels, and the courses are a bit more technical.
So that's what we're seeing, but it's true that 2,500 and 2,600, that's tough, I can understand.
2,600. In the end, honestly, at 100 kilometers, you stop counting.
No, you don't count anymore, but it's tough. We see it at the finish line when we tell them the showers are 200 meters away. The guy just did 2,600 kilometers. And then you tell him, so to take a shower,
Leap.
You have to take your bike and go 200 meters. Already when we said you have to take your bike, already we've lost 99%.
Of the people. I think back to the finish, me and my mom. She had gone the day before to pick up my bags, the drop bags. Because there must have been clothes that stank in there. There must have been mushrooms in there. And I told her, go pick them up.
When you go to open the rear truck,
it's insane.
It's especially for the dog, Rody Fleur.
He's dead. He passed away.
Because what you need to know is that people don't see all the organization that goes on behind the scenes, but we have to, at Montdelieu at least, for the 2,500 kilometers of France. When we enter a gymnasium like the convention center where we are in Montdelieu, we can't bring in the bags without having them sniffed by a dog for security reasons related to the Vigipirate plan. So you have to imagine bags belonging to several hundred people who have already traveled 2,000 or 1,500 kilometers, sitting in the heat inside a 20 cubic meter truck that has driven several hundred kilometers, and then we open all the doors at once. It's quite an experience.
Smells wild.
It's a trip.
But my mother, when she went to pick up her drop bags, she saw the guys who had filmed 500. She sent me a message. She said they were wrecked. I saw two guys from the 500. They helped me load the drop bags and the bike suitcase. And I saw them and they told me, I swear they were in such a state. I hope you're doing okay though. At that moment, she realized. She realizes that the guys, they did 500 kilometers, they're dead, wiped out. With
you doing 2005?
Her son, he's in the middle of doing 2005. He's been on the road for 9 days and he called. That's twice now he's thought about quitting. Too late, too far, all that. He's going to arrive, he's going to be exhausted.
And when you finished, what did you tell yourself? Did you say to yourself, I'm going to go even longer? I'm happy. What emotions did they go through when you finished? Because when we listen to your journey so far, it's pretty logical, let's say. That is, you get signed up for a triathlon and then boom. The thing is set in motion. And after that, you challenge yourself. Actually, it's pretty logical. Your journey, but then when you get to something that's almost 2,500 kilometers over nearly 10 days, how did you experience that moment and how did you feel in the weeks that followed? Because we know that when you finish a project and there's nothing after, how did it go for you?
I hear a lot about depression, post-sport event depression for amateurs, because sometimes there isn't a series of races lined up. Some people sign up for a lot of races to keep going, to start again, to keep the momentum. For the first Ironman I did, I had planned a trip and it was complicated. And in the end, it was complicated because I was exhausted and I had planned a trip 5 days later, so it wasn't a good idea. But honestly, I didn't have any depression. You
felt missing?
No. On the contrary, I was eager to go again. But honestly, physically, let's not kid ourselves, my feet. I had pain under my feet. Well, as for the pain in my fingers, I was already used to that because you lose sensation in your knuckles. But that's normal. But no pain in the butt.
It's normal. It comes back.
Point that out. It comes back after 2, 3, 4 weeks. It depends on your sensitivity. As for my feet, I still had some pain, but that was from pushing hard on my feet over and over. In the end, it went really well. I was eager to get back on the bike. The problem is, when I got back to Montreal, I lost my apartment. I come back to Montreal, my apartment, there was a fire in my building and I wasn't notified. What do you mean?
You weren't notified? You came back and
My apartment was damaged by the fire.
you didn't know?
No. I arrive, I get to Montreal. And on top of that, I arrive on a Friday. On Saturday, my friend is running the Ultra Trail at Ricana. No, the Quebec Mega Trail north of Quebec City. And I'm helping her out as her crew. So I'm all set to go help her out. I go home, drop off my bike, drop off my bags, grab another bag, and then I head out again. And then I get home and there's dust everywhere. The place is a disaster from the fire and everything. I just say, fuck it, I'll deal with it at the end of the weekend. So long story short, I lost that apartment. And then I left again with all my stuff. Since then, I bought a place in Montreal. That's it. I didn't have time to get depressed because I was just dealing with one thing after another, one hassle after another. I was just rolling with life, really. But I kept on doing it.
Big time. Back to real life. When you're in those 10 days of adventure, what people need to know, especially those listening who aren't familiar with long distance, no matter the sport, actually, you lose all sense of time. You don't know what day it is anymore. You don't even know what time it is anymore. All you know is that you have to eat, you have to keep moving forward, you have to make it to tonight.
But you don't even count the days anymore. In fact, you don't even keep track of the 10 days.
You don't
Even know if you're making it on time or not. You're doing the math in your head. But wait, if I leave now, if I stop there, will I make it within 10 days?
It's
True that it messes with your head. And on top of that, when you're at the back of the pack, you're a bit stressed. You wonder, am I going to make it on time? At first, you tell yourself, I won't make it in time for the start. That's for sure.
you really get bored. So you didn't experience that phase yourself.
No depression.
Because you always keep going, always with someone, helping someone.
Yeah. Or maybe I just don't set that goal for myself. Too much pressure.
Yes, that's what I meant. Maybe that too.
I put less pressure on myself about the event, and maybe that's actually why. And with trail running, same thing. The why, I had it from the very beginning. I did this trail at Ricana, 44. The goal was to get the points to sign up for the Ultra et Réunion. Not the Diagonale des Fous, because I also have my limits when it comes to getting into some pretty crazy projects. But I thank us for that. So now the goal would be to do another big trail and eventually run the Bourbon at the Grand Raid. So that's 110 kilometers of trail running.
That's the trail goal.
The trail goal. After that, for the cycling goal, I'm taking on the Rev 500 this year. You know it. This time,
It's tough.
yeah, but actually it makes me dream because it looks incredible. It is.
Tough. And you know what? It's a real surprise for me because when I mapped out the 500, so first I tried with our route planner, Pascal Bride. If you're listening to us, Pascal, a big thank you. I tried to tell him, listen, the 500, it might make you smile, but actually the 500 starts from Albertville, but I wanted to go through Ventoux to finish at Mont-de-Lieu. And then he says to me, Arnaud, I can do a lot of things for you,
It's not direct.
but it doesn't fit into 500 actually. You'll end up at 900, but it'll never be 500.
But come on, it's just marketing. I tried to get you to.
But attack the audience? Yes, it's marketing. So no, I told him, well, we need to find another solution. We need to separate the routes. That's
What I saw, yes.
so we created a 500 that's heading straight south and covers all the beautiful alpine passes. But on the other hand, it's quite challenging in terms of elevation gain. And I thought to myself, well, in my opinion, the 500 this year, which had been growing rapidly in previous years, well, we're going to struggle with it. The 500 this year, we're going to struggle with it.
I think that's where it sold out the fastest. The route is incredible.
And we still have dozens of people on the waiting list. So I was really surprised by that. So you're going to have a beautiful...
The route. Actually, I'm coaching a friend I met less than a year ago, cycling in Nice. By chance? A chance encounter, met on Instagram through Yannick Larry. I don't know if you know him. You know, he's a guy from Nice, an ASICS ambassador, does triathlons, etc. Then we met through Insta, through social media. He introduced me to several people in Nice. I met this girl who's passionate about cycling. I said to her, don't you want to try a bit of ultra, have an experience for the first time in your life? She said, no, I have races and everything. I said, yeah, but I'm sure you have the ability. No, I'm not sure. Then I came back this winter. Well,
She's okay with it.
and I kind of kept pestering her. And actually, she knows that if she does it, she'll do it with me. I think it seems to reassure her because when you have someone with a bit of experience, I reassure her. She knows I won't leave her despite the distance, and she knows I won't give up.
Teams make up 35% of all our registrations, the duos. So a large portion of our participants do it as a team, either to share an adventure or because it reassures them.
That
The person has experience and shares it.
she told me, 500 alone, never in my life, but 500 as a duo, I'll go with you.
And
I'm excited to do this.
Race, it's going to be really cool. I'm excited to see the 500 too, to see the footage from the 500 because it's going to be crazy.
But then Otake, she literally told me, what is it? The best time from last year? Because I want to know if we can win. Already I was there. Okay, there.
There's still a gap. No, I don't want to. We're going to win.
She's competitive. Now she got a coach. She's going all in. She's really giving it her all.
And then we realize that it's becoming more professional. Incredible. Right now, as we speak, we've released episode 1 about Pauline. We call it the Pauline Project.
Because
We're going to support Pauline all the way to Race Across France because she wants to win the 2,500 in France. She's the one who won the 300 at the Scratch in Spain last year. And so now we're releasing her project. And actually, when I did the podcast with her last year, at the finish line where she won, I asked her, but explain to me how, is this a goal for you? And then she tells me, no, but not only that. It's a goal, but I also came here this winter to scout out the course. And actually, Pauline brought from trail running the very professional approach you have in trail, scouting out the courses, which we don't yet have in ultra, but she changed the game. And now we realize that ultra distance athletes are hiring coaches. Not just one, but some have a coach for nutrition, a coach for physical preparation. And that, I think, is because of trail running, since we see more and more trail runners coming in. I'm thinking of Julian Chaurier, a great trail runner who won in Switzerland. We see trail runners coming in. The top 2 women in Switzerland were trail runners. And I think it brings this professional side or a much more structured approach to the discipline.
they have the structure and they also have the experience, I think, to break down the course and look at everything. Like, where is their elevation gain? Where is this or that? And
they know
how to spot everything. I'm not saying they all have expertise in that, but
they analyze
always the minimum time, average time. They do analyses between the winners, the losers, everything. They do it all. Big engineers, really. And
that's
how Mathieu got so many results, by the way, at the UTMB. And now all the trail runners have adopted these ultra-fast aid station strategy techniques to optimize their time.
like a triathlon transition.
In my opinion, I think trail running has seen a truly remarkable and sustained surge in popularity for the past several consecutive years now.
It surprises me every time. When people tell me that trail running is booming, I think to myself that it already has. The specialists in the discipline say, no, we're just at the very beginning. There are still plenty of things to do.
146%, I was saying last time. In terms of growth, it's incredible. Race bibs now sell out in less than an hour. Honestly, it doesn't make any
sense anymore.
And I'm convinced that ultra cycling is going to be the same way.
I think we're 10 to 15 years behind trail running, but I hope we'll catch up in less than 10 to 15 years.
But actually, with ambassadors, at least in France, ambassadors like Nathalie Bayan, like Steven Lejaric, around the world, people like Lael Wilcox, you
reach another level.
Even Sofiane with his incredible experience.
For me, he's number one.
I think it's people like them who inspire you. And then when you look at their journeys, you just think, what the fuck, man? Then after that, there's the little competitor, Mr. and Mrs. Everybody, who will be there. And then people like Henri Dole, who will inspire a lot of cyclists here in the community. Henri Dole.
Very, very well known here. And he's never ridden in Europe. That's what he told me. It's the first time he's going to ride in Europe this
summer. And it's not a short distance.
Not a short distance. And he's going there to get on the podium. His goal is to make it onto the podium.
He doesn't enter races just to finish them.
You mentioned being an ambassador. I'd like us to talk about your role as well, about how you support us here in Quebec to promote the event. What people should know is that Sacha was a volunteer. Tell us about your experiences as a volunteer. You have to talk about the good side. You have to talk about the bad side. You have to be transparent.
Sacha.
To talk about what we experienced.
Okay, the thing is incredible. The first year, I couldn't be there for very simple reasons. I was at the UTMB with my best friend who was running her UTMB in Chamonix. So the timing just didn't work out. Second year, I told myself, okay, maybe I won't do the Cross Quebec stop, but I want to be involved. I get in touch with David Jesse. David says to me, we're looking for volunteers. Those two guys, bad influence. And so in the end, David says to me, yeah, we're looking for volunteers and all that, but zero structure. But I love them. I really love them. But damn, the planning for this, I was just, guys, what hours do you need help? What are your needs?
Come on, listen, just come. And
He says to me, just tell me when you can come, like super casual. As we say here in Quebec, it was a real haywire job. And that's exactly how it went down. Very haywire. And I came, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I came on Friday evening right after work. I dropped my stuff at home and I go by bike.
he left on Monday.
I left on Sunday and I slept 3 hours at my place. All
that without sleeping.
I slept 3 hours at my place. And actually, that's it. Friday night, I arrive. And then I see you. You tell me, go to the pasta station. Then after that, I end up doing the bike checks. Then after that, I help out with the registration stuff. After that, I finally make it to the pasta station. I make the pasta, the rice, the whatever.
No. The pasta. Let's talk. Let's talk about the pasta experience. He says to Sacha, okay, now we need to make pasta. He says, okay, no problem. I'll make some pasta. The guys are coming soon. Okay, so we're going to put the pasta in the water and take it out when the water boils. Then I said to him, but wait, that was when you were a student, right? No, not as a student.
No, it was the rice we made like that.
It was the rice.
And the rice, I make it like that. And actually, I do it because we don't have anything to weigh with. We don't know the amount of water. We don't have the stuff. I just said, fuck it, we're going to make rice. We'll do it student style. And then we'll add some
water. It worked perfectly well.
It did the job.
But
of course, nutrition-wise, that's another story, but it's Koh Lanta rice. On Koh Lanta, they're really happy to have sticky, greasy rice. So I figure that for the ultra, it could work.
But it's true that on the volunteer side, we're dealing with first editions here in Quebec. So as you said, it's a bit of a mess. We
learn.
And actually, we have a small team. Our event coordinators are David and Jesse, who supported us at the launch because they believe in the concept and are convinced that there's potential in Quebec. And I completely agree with them. Our goal, and I don't want to put all the responsibility on David and Jesse's shoulders, but I know that my vision is to say that we can get 1,000 participants for Race Across Quebec within the next 3 years. In any case, that's the goal I've set for myself. For David and Jesse, this isn't their full-time job, so I'm not putting that responsibility on them. It's my responsibility, along with our team in Europe, to support them and make sure the event grows. For the first edition, I came here all by myself with 180 kilos of luggage. I had 8 suitcases with me all by myself. Last year, I brought Stéphane with me. Our GPS devices were confiscated, so we had to urgently find new GPS units with help from Quebec and everything, but we found a solution. This year, 4 of us are coming from Europe, and that's really the reason we're coming as a group of 4. It's to support David and Jesse in organizing the event, and as you said, to make it much less slapdash, so that the person who comes to Portugal, who comes to France, who comes to Paris
has
the same experience in Quebec. That's extremely important to me.
But I think that in the end, the fact that it's slapdash,
it is actually
great, because actually people were super responsive.
No, but it works well. You have a culture here that is completely different. You know it because you've been living here for 14 years.
The culture, you know, I listened a bit to your podcast with Danny. We have a culture of support, a culture
of
support. Even people come with their friends, their family, their stuff.
Those people,
you don't care about having pasta or rice. You serve them nothing at all. They're there, they just go. I don't care. You
know what? The first year, there was no shower.
Yeah. There
was no shower. There was a hose at the back of the building. Back then,
we had showers.
That didn't cause any problems for anyone.
No.
When people came to see us and asked, are there showers on site? We would tell them, sorry, there are no showers. But there is a hose by the bikes at the back of the building if you want to rinse off a bit. Okay, no problem. This year, we set up decathlon showers on pallets. Wooden pallets, we put showers on them.
Along with
the tank that we would fill with hot water.
That
didn't cause any problems for anyone.
There was just one friend, he told me, I lost my soap, and he was talking to me, but I couldn't see him anymore because I arrived in the middle of the night. I was there with my phone.
And there was no lighting.
There was no lighting, so he was there, and he goes, damn, I lost my soap, fuck it.
And so there you have it, and indeed, we are structuring things year after year. We're moving in the direction where people will have the same experience in the years to come. But it's true, indeed, you have this culture here. Quebecers have this culture of We were just talking about it earlier with the technician who's here, but it's chill here. People are relaxed, but there's
Zero problem.
it's zero.
In fact, it's always a solution-oriented system.
And so, yes, indeed, there are very few volunteers with us at night. And Sacha accompanied me through the night, where it's just a joke. Now, between us, I always have something for him. Because every time he asks me, I've got something for you. Can you do this? I've got something for you. Can you do this? So indeed, he handed out the medals at the finish line, all while holding the rice strainer in his other hand. I
think I've brought people back to life with salted watermelons.
There were all sorts of things. And so now, Sacha, we've asked him to be, well, ambassador is a bit of a stretch because we don't have the resources that big brands do. We just ask him to host rides. So it's Sacha who hosts the rides on Zwift.
On Zwift, yes.
On Mondays. Then there will be rides. The rides outdoors. And then there are some announcements we're going to make for the community. I can't say too much, but there are announcements that will be made in the spring so that we can really bring this community to life in Quebec, but also in Europe. And you'll be with us, I hope, for this year's edition.
I'm staying up.
For 10 days, where there's a 2,500 kilometer ride, so we should start sleeping now. And the 2,500 kilometers, actually, it goes through Gaspésie. You've ridden a lot in Gaspésie. If you had to explain the route or what the participants will be facing this year, what positive things would you tell them? Because I can see your expression starting to actually...
I'm getting chills because it's so beautiful. The place is incredible. I think that among the most beautiful places I've ridden in Quebec, Bas-Saint-Laurent is clearly my best memory.
You know, Jesse, David, and I looked into the possibility of having them cross over.
I'm sure I believed in it.
Well, yes, but no, because there aren't enough boats per day.
There are 2 or 3 boats a day.
And if we do that, we kill the race. Then,
in fact, it becomes an ultra-strategic race, and we risk ruining it.
If there were a boat every hour or every 2 hours, maybe. Yes.
Impossible.
3 boats a day? No way.
3 or 4 boats a day? That's not possible. And on top of that, there are time slots. And sometimes you have to arrive almost an hour early to be sure you can get in. No, but aside from that, the experience was incredible. The only difference I can tell you between the 2,500 in France that I experienced and certainly the 2,500 in Quebec that you can experience, it's the number of villages and the population in those villages.
Very few.
Because actually in France, yes, we went through little towns where there's nothing. There are no more bakeries. There's nothing left in the villages. All you have are vending machines for bread, pizza, things like that. But in the end, there's nothing. But here, I'm not even sure there are bread vending machines. There will be convenience stores, there will be gas stations, but that's about it for food options. It's true that for me, my experience in Gaspésie, honestly, the landscapes are absolutely incredible. I hope they get to see as many days as possible, of course, but Gaspésie is far. They're going to have to ride through parts of the night. But no, there's everything.
From Bromont, it's 1,500 kilometers to get to Quebec City and do the Gaspésie loop. And that's what I tell Europeans when we talk about this event. I tell them, but how many times in your life do you get the chance to go ride in Gaspésie? Actually, you see, when you're European, I'm talking about Europeans, how many times do you get that chance, the opportunity?
It's an incredible peninsula, really. And
plus, it's so far from Montreal that when you come on vacation to Montreal, you don't go to Gaspésie because it's too far, or you'd have to go for 2 weeks, really.
Yeah, that's it. Actually, usually French people say, yeah, I can go see the whales in Tadoussac, go to Gaspésie, go see Niagara Falls, all that in 2 weeks. Yeah, no, that's not possible.
It's not possible.
For Gaspésie, you have to take, if you want to go there, you need at least 14 days to really enjoy the landscapes, the parks, the
hikes. You can't do Saguenay, you can't do Tadoussac. And at the same time, Gaspésie.
On the other hand, honestly, there are some really beautiful spots. And honestly, I think the participants are going to love the experience. I hope they ask the locals in Gaspésie for directions because they're going to freak out, as we say here, over the Gaspésian accent. Because every region has its own little accent. And I'm sure the technician here could prove that the Montreal accent of Quebecers already...
Is it like our Chitis in France?
No, it's not. I couldn't say it's like the Chitis, but they do swallow their words. It's really going to be quite an experience too. Personally, I only met people who mostly came from big cities. So it was easy to understand everything. But as for, think about French people who are going to come here, because with Quebecers, yes, there's no problem. But I'm thinking of the young French guys who've only ever listened to Quebecers like Garou and Céline Dion on TV. He'll arrive in Gaspésie and he'll see what people say about Quebecers.
It's an experience. Experience within the experience.
Yeah, but honestly, after that, it's going to be amazing. And the thing they have to eat is shrimp, lobster, and ziers, some Gaspésian specialties. When I was doing the RAF, there were guys who would stop and try all your local specialties.
Yeah, but it could be an adventure. It
could be the adventure. And if you feel like downing some beers, there are also some really great microbreweries around the Laurentian Basin.
You have so many beers. It's incredible.
There's a beer route that goes through Gaspésie. So if the guy wants to plan something, he can plan.
It's true. You just enter a shop.
In moderation.
But there's such a selection of beers. I'm amazed every time I come here. And on top of that, they're all really well marketed. They're
well marketed and actually good.
Yeah, but
it's incredible. Because it's not just
the bottle that's pretty.
No, they have some really great microbreweries. When you stop at places in Gaspésie and Bas-Saint-Laurent, there are truly amazing spots to eat and drink. But clearly, the shrimp in Matanais, you'll get lobster in Gaspésie. Honestly, treat yourself.
It's about taste. It's about tourism.
You have to enjoy it. I think you have to make the most of the experience. Of course, guys who are going for the win might not be as focused on the culinary side. We
both think of certain people
who
are locals, who know the area and
who have already been to Gaspésie. They don't need to, then the European who wants to win can just go for it. But honestly, just enjoy the experience. Because like you said, we don't often get the chance to go around Gaspésie. As for me, I'm planning to do it again this year just to scout out the route for fun. But that's it. Gaspésie, I did it in 2017, just before my Ironman in 2017. And honestly, I regret that it took almost 9 years before I went around Gaspésie again. It just goes to show how much, and yet I live in the country.
So actually, you're making the transition, because I'd like us to talk about what you're doing now and how you're doing it. Just before, my son replied to me. So I'll read it to you. I said to him, "Here, do you recognize this?" And then he said no. In his mind, he doesn't remember, so he must really not have been feeling well.
No, I had long hair. Yeah.
Who is that? So I told him, it's Sacha. Still cross bouillon, salty. And he replies to me, "Oh, wow, yes, it's coming back to me now." A very cheerful person, as I remember. He must have a good memory of me. So there you go.
I have a great memory, Enzo.
Listen in.
To be honest, I'm not quite sure if Enzo has gotten back into his bench pressing routine again.
No, not quite yet.
To be completely honest, starting next year,
I look
for a duo, I'll take him with me.
Listen, the challenge has been set. Anyway, that's it. As for the rest, Cross Quebec.
Yeah.
We've added a 200 kilometer that people are really going to like, and we can see the registrations for the 200 kilometer are increasing. 200 kilometers starting from Terrebonne, 300 kilometers Terrebonne, 500 kilometers Terrebonne, 1,000 kilometers starting from Quebec. We're going to reveal the starting point soon. It's connected to our partner, whom we'll announce on Friday at the Montreal Bike Show. And then the 2,500 kilometers, which starts from Bromont, does a tour of the Gaspé Peninsula, passes through Quebec, and then comes back to Terrebonne. And there will be volunteers, a really great atmosphere, and everything will go well. Tell us about HEC, about what you're doing today. You mentioned homesickness earlier. Do you feel homesick? How has it been for you here in Montreal after 14 winters?
I've lived a lot of life in my 14 winters. Now it's been, I think, a good 6 years that I've been working at HEC. I think actually I came here to study at HEC. I've always stayed connected to HEC. I worked there in different fields. Now I really work in the international service department. I deal with partners all over the world. I think it's great because, as I said at the very beginning of this podcast, it's about meeting people. It gives meaning. It's about sharing with cultural shocks too and adaptation. I think that's it too. Everything is connected there. There's sport that hits you hard. There's everything. For me, sport, also through my work.
That's what I was going to say. Does Ultra, the adventures you do and the way you experience them, have an impact on your job? Actually,
it's also like a decompression soup. A lot. In the summer, I run a lot of trail during my lunch break, let's say. I know I have trail running goals, so I train, but I train during my lunch break at noon. My colleagues ask, "Why are you leaving? What are you going to do?" They see me again an hour later, sweating, completely exhausted. I did 10 kilometers in less than an hour, and that's it. That's how I let it out. And afterwards, it de-stresses me. Then it allows me to get going again. It gives me a certain balance. Then homesickness. It's true that between the time I left France for Australia back then and now, well, that was in 2010 to 2011. And today, I would tell you that as a French person, you often hear, yeah, France, there are so many problems. But honestly, guys, there are problems everywhere in the world.
There is no
paradise. The grass isn't greener anywhere else. Today, I feel very attached to Quebec because I have a professional situation that suits me. You
Made a network.
have built myself a network. I love what I do at my job. I have my girlfriend too. There are lots of things, friends, all of that, and the community, which means that, well, there are ups and downs. Then you hold on to the good things. And when you look back a little, you say to yourself, okay, there really are some great things here. Of course, I go back to France a lot. My mother lives over there. I'm attached.
He is the well-known local legend of the 06 area, or Sacha.
Maybe not for much longer.
In February, he's a local legend.
Maybe not for much longer, because with Steven, who lives there, he's going to take all the local legend titles. But no, I love the Côte d'Azur. I'm in love with this region. I think you know the Estoril very well.
Magnificent.
It's my favorite playground whenever I go back to the Côte d'Azur. At the very least, I can't do without it. I go there for 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks on the Côte d'Azur, and I spend 2 or 3 weeks in the Estoril.
I
go crazy for it. By the way, this year, I'm going to bring one of my gravel bikes. I'm going to take it back to France, because when I go on vacation, I only had a road bike, and now I want to have a gravel bike. No, it's the Côte d'Azur that I'm in love with. Today, I could have a job. If my job allowed me to be nomadic between Canada and France, I would really love to be able to live both in France and in Canada, to do both, and to be able to say to myself, hey, I'll take advantage of the times when it's a bit tougher here. There are winters when it lasts a bit longer. This year, it was really tough. We had winter very early. We had pretty cold temperatures up until this week. Maybe you find it cold.
No, when I arrived, it was pretty cold. It was -10 this morning.
Right.
But it's a dry cold. It's different.
Yes, but even -10, honestly, it's paradise. We had -35 to 40. That's honestly our story. We had a pretty harsh winter that started very early. Yes, because it started
at the end. October, I think, or at the very beginning of November.
Yes, we had the first storm. It was around November 10th or 12th, I think. It came very early.
And it didn't stop.
In fact, it never stopped. We had some big snowstorms. But there are people who keep driving, don't get me wrong. Me, I usually stop. I went back to France in December, so I'm a bad example. But I usually stop in December. And then there are people who keep driving January, February. I make the personal choice not to ride outside, because -25, -30, it's just not appealing to me.
And then it's icy. The roads are really icy. It can be dangerous.
Too. I bought a fat bike. At that point, I made a choice. Fat bikes in France, we don't really know much about them. I checked, and we know about electric bikes, those big electric bikes. Mine isn't electric at all, not in any way. It has big tires. It's a big bike. It's awesome. I love it. There are competitions. There are fat bike races. Henri. Back then, we did, I can't remember what it was called, the Windigo, something like 200 kilometers on a fat bike. It was horrible at -30, -35 degrees. But that's Henry. He loves the cold. Me personally, the cold. I'm from the Côte d'Azur. It's still something that gets to me a bit.
We have it handled.
Yeah, with trail running, it's okay because you gear up and you actually warm up. But on a bike, since your hands and feet stay still, it's horrible. You really have to be very well equipped. And I love it when I hear influencers in France saying, yeah, riding in winter isn't that hard. You just have to gear up, guys. Come ride in winter. It's part of our story. You've experienced it yourself when you did.
No, when you're talking about -35, you have to have lived it to understand
that.
-35. When you take your hand out, you have 2 minutes, basically.
That's it. You really have to choose your movements. Be careful. Be well equipped. Don't sweat, because you get too hot. That's not good, but you can't be too cold either. There's a balance to everything. It's complicated. It's really complex. And that's why in January and February, since I live much farther from my job now, I made the choice not to do it. I know guys who still ride. There's Julian.
I ran into him today. He was riding for bike commuting, not just
training. Some people commute by bike, while others take short rides for fun with friends.
The bike paths are clear. The sidewalks are clear. There
are guys who ride their bikes on Mount Royal too, even with the snow. There's absolutely no problem with that. But yeah, there's a guy named Julian who did the stop at Cross Québec last year with his girlfriend Julian and Chloe Julien. He commutes by bike every day. He was bike commuting in -35 degrees, doing 16 kilometers each way. Honestly, the guy impresses me. Hats off to him. Personally, I don't feel like it. I actually choose to take a break during the winter. Well, that means I focus more on training at home, targeted, and then I pick it up again after the season. I haven't lost my fitness. Of course, the elevation you do on Zwift and reality are two different things.
It's two different stories.
I love it when they show 19% on Zwift. I assure you 19% in real life is not the same as on
Zwift. It doesn't
count the same. That's right. I pick it up again, and starting in March, that's it. I get back on my fat bike and I go to work. I'm going to do my 20 kilometers a day. Then my training again. On a platform, whether it's Zwift, MyWooch, or whatever, there are plenty of them.
See,
There are more and more free platforms now.
you actually asked us the question about Zwift Rails. There's MyWooch. I think it...
It is available for free right now.
Have you tried it?
I've tried it, and
So it's become...
great.
Apparently it's not that bad.
Actually, it was created by, it's sponsored by UAE. Let's be honest, it's Pogacar who's on it and his team. The platform is super reliable. There are great spots. There are targeted trainings.
Is it as gamified as Zwift?
No, Zwift is much more gamified. There are a lot more challenges. They make it lively with climb portals that are fun and everything. On MyWooch, it's a bit less developed, but at the same time, it's free. So that's a choice too. To be perfectly honest with you, I am fully aware that it is completely equivalent. If you don't want to spend $20 or $25 per
The entire month?
at the end of the day, it's a choice. Or I know that right now I'm on Zwift, and one of the main reasons is because I'm an ambassador for Race Across Québec. But
We could also try to do it on MyWish.
maybe next year we'll try MyWish and we'll see. Maybe we'll see how people react. I see more and more people who are on Ruvi, MyWish, Zwift. I tried Ruvi at one point and I saw that it has evolved even more. It's always changing. My first experience with Zwift was in 2016 to 2017 when I was training for my first triathlon.
And it's nothing like it was before.
It's no longer,
Like that.
it's
Evolved so much. During COVID, they were doing updates every week.
now, I think there are 8 or 10 worlds. There are, I don't know how many maps, challenges, portals. There are training plans, all structured. That's what I'm doing right now.
There.
Really well made. I cut them a bit because I do 2 workouts a day. So instead of doing 1 workout a day, but well, that's my choice. But yes, they have training sessions that are really well structured.
You advance.
You improve, your FTP shows it, and when you return,
You feel it in the intervals you're able to hold.
starting the season, you can finish 50 kilometers, but without winter training, you'll really feel those first 20.
Their long, slender legs.
That's a really great tool. If you want a structured training plan, there's nothing better, so that's it. But to get back to my job, that's what I do. I work, and I have the advantage of having a job. Basically, I'm a civil servant, so it's a 9 to 5-ish, 32 to 35 hours a week. So I have that, and I have incredible benefits with HEC. I have a lot of free time that my company gives me. So yeah, it's great.
You really enjoy it.
It allows me to be able to do sports.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what matters most.
So we're coming to the end of the episode. Sacha, what advice or message would you like to share before we talk about Daddy rolls, before we chat, taste the rolls, and of course, go have a beer? So what message would you like to get across? What advice?
Well, actually, I think you have to listen to people who have already done it, get inspired, and not necessarily by the best ones. Because we often feel like we want to compare ourselves without really comparing, because we know very well that a guy like Mathieu Blanchard in trail running, or Steven Lejaric in ultra cycling, or Sofiane, these are incredible guys, but we can't compare ourselves to people like that. You have to build up gradually, step by step in your training, and above all, enjoy yourself. Enjoy what you're doing. I think that's the key. Today, for me, that's my key to happiness. And then we were talking about depression, post-event, post-whatever. If you do it for pleasure, it's not true that you'll get depressed. You had fun normally.
Yeah, true.
And training, if we're talking about ultra, it's hard to find training partners. That's where it's going to be the toughest, and you end up isolating yourself a lot. I know that for the RAF 2005, I isolated myself a lot, and I made a choice, which was to go all in. But I still had 1 or 2 slightly eccentric guys with me.
People who can come for an hour or 2. But yeah, when you're heading out for 8 hours, 7 hours.
How do you call up a buddy? Hello, today. It happened to me. I found 2 friends. Hello, today I want to do 200 kilometers. Are you coming with me? He goes, okay, let's go. We're off. It's rare. You're like, but try to surround yourself with the right people and take what you can from it. Be social at social events and just enjoy, take pleasure in what you do.
Awesome. A big thank you, Sacha.
Thank you, Arno.
I was really happy to be able to dig into your journey.
You told me we were going to chat. We
Chatted. That's great. That's what we're here for. But no, it's good. It's a great episode. I hope the people who follow you will give you feedback. Usually that's what happens. Remind us of your Instagram account.
It's Sacha, Sashabrct. That's my last name, but
Without the vowels. We
you don't make it too complicated. and that's it. Enjoy and come to the rack events, really come and have a good time. There's maple syrup, burgers, bacon.
Or you can eat burgers for free. Let me be clear, it's not paid. It's free on Sundays.
Honestly,
it's going to be even more fun. This year,
there will be
lovely town.
And the people who did it last year talk about it on Zwift in the evenings during the rides and everything. There are a few participants who write to me telling me, yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun and all.
There's a great vibe. From the very first year, there's been a great vibe at the finish village, along the course at the finish lines. There are people, and actually it was Jesse who came up with the idea to set up a poster stand. So there are pens available, cardboard, and people make posters, which really adds to the atmosphere at the finish. That's why I absolutely want my team in Europe to come as well to see it, because it's one thing to prepare an event. We work on events all year long, but coming here to experience the vibe is just incomparable to anything you can experience in Europe. You
know, you were saying like, I want to have the same experience, but at the same time,
it's hard due to different cultures. I want
the culture to remain. And Quebecois culture, it's really that rough around the edges side, and that's also what gives it its charm.
I'm learning new expressions. I think the technician is laughing, but we use expressions from Chloe, from Henri, but there you go.
But when you see David, you think, man, this guy is incredible, you know, like so much fun. And that's really it. And for me, this experience, you know, it would be boring if it was, you see Fergus on the cob.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I really do love Fergus, but it simply should not be Fergus in Quebec.
It's David.
It has to be David. It's like...
And when David shows up, I say, well, hide your wives. That's an expression from Chloe. It's an expression from Chloe. Hide your wives. David is coming. It's really cool.
He's a great guy.
They really complement each other with Jesse in their roles. What David does, Jesse can't do. And what Jesse does, David can't do. That's what makes this duo so complementary.
They both have incredible personalities that really complement each other. I only knew them from social media, and I discovered two really nice guys. Super generous all over the place. But on the other hand,
that's why we're here, to bring something.
And actually, in the end, the only
bonus is that it's all squared away. People don't see it. They think it's all over the place, but there's actually a structure
behind it. There are still guys here. We're not just doing anything. We're not just throwing people in. Hey, figure it out.
You yourself.
In 2,500 kilometers, it won't be like that. Not at all. And I think people are still supported with the PGO. Honestly, we give ourselves the means and we're here. We were there anyway. I can't get over how many hours you stayed awake, because even I couldn't keep up.
It's hard for us.
Damn, we were there nonstop for them.
Nonstop.
I remember the night.
There was also an amazing team of volunteers. We were a great team, honestly.
Because
we laughed a lot.
Yeah, but the dedicated people the volunteers came, like we said. They came with absolutely no formal plan, and they remained committed until the very end.
Yeah, we told them, well, stand over there, and then here you can go there. I had still made a list. I knew exactly all the people who were registered. I still had ideas for each time slot. But since there weren't many of us, you would go from one task to another. So it could give the impression that, in fact, there was no structure. There was
still
some structure. But since there were so few of us, you did a bit of everything. By the way, if you want to join us, complete or join the volunteer team, just go to the Race Across series website. You'll find the link to sign up on a platform, and that way we'll know based on your availability. Come join the team. We're going to have a great time, and
we'll make a schedule.
A schedule will be set.
A schedule.
A big thank you, Sacha.
Thank you, Arnaud.
All right. See you very soon.
Ciao.
I've got something for you.